and we have a lot of high demand right now for multifamily investment properties as well as warehouse spaces. And Jessica has worked through several succession plans with residential realtors, and together we are working through a succession plan with the top commercial agent in our region for RE/MAX right now. So we have our hands really full between residential real estate, the team, expanding our commercial real estate business, and then our own investments in real estate.
Podcast.
I'm Monetizing, and we have two very special guests today joining us from Illinois, USA, Justin and Jessica Ball. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good morning. Good to be joining you.
Hello.
Hi there. So right before we started, you guys were mentioning what your benchmark price was, and Tony and my jaw dropped compared to what our prices are. So why don't we tell our listeners, or why don't you guys share with the listeners about your business and how you guys became partners and realtors in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are married. We are Justin and Jessica Ball, and we did not start out as partners in the business to begin with. I've been a licensed real estate agent for a little over 5 years. I was in law enforcement actually for a decade prior to that, and then made the jump into real estate. And Justin was just kind of my at-home backup, all things assistant for a while when I started, and jumped in and helped me anytime I needed it on anything. And we have I have a team as well. I'm a team lead, so I have a couple other agents and assistants that work for us as well. And then I'll let Justin talk about how he got started in the business officially. But to answer your what you were talking about at the beginning about our average sales price and our market here, we are in central Illinois, basically equal distance between Chicago and St. Louis. Both are just shy of 3 hours, so right in the middle of the state. And our average sales price for our market is $150,000. And that will get you, that'll get you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage, little yard. That actually gets you quite a bit here. And
that's amazing.
It is. It's a great, really affordable market, great for investors as well, which kind of is the segue for Justin to talk about how he got started with us.
Yeah. So I've been a long-term real estate investor. Like Jessica said, I was a highly desirable, unpaid, unlicensed assistant before formally getting my real estate license, especially with the work I was doing helping out-of-state investors and helping investors even in the Peoria area with multifamily investments. And now, after getting my realtor's license a few years ago, with commercial properties, and we have a lot of high demand right now for multifamily investment properties as well as warehouse spaces with the expansion of supply chain and logistics in the Midwest. And Jessica has worked through several succession plans with residential realtors, and together we are working through a succession plan with the top commercial agent in our region for RE/MAX right now. So we have our hands really full between residential real estate, the team, expanding our commercial real estate business, and then our own investments in real estate.
You guys are covering both aspects here. When you still are an investor, before you were a realtor, were you investing in commercial space? Is that why you've decided to specialize in that?
I think I'm more of a numbers person. Jessica has a lot of empathy to work with homeowners through the process of finding the perfect home or helping them sell their home. And I am much more numbers oriented, work very well with bankers and speak the language of accounting very well. And the Midwest here in our region is a very popular place for investors. And so having been an investor myself, it lends itself really well to helping out-of-state investors and lining up property managers We have some investments of our own in small residential, single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, as well as some commercial real estate and small industrial real estate here in the region.
What does that vacancy, what's the vacancy rate over there?
The vacancy rate right now for warehouses is very, very low. So I would say we're probably at in the high 90% for industrial commercial properties being full, but it really depends on their location. Just like all real estate, it's location, location, location. And so we're really seeing commercial properties thrive and move on the market right now, but we're also seeing some with less desirable locations or less cooperations between landlords and tenants on things like build-outs are really items that are holding up the process for those commercial properties that are sitting vacant.
Justin, I have a question. If someone was going to invest in a multifamily building, like they wanted to buy the entire building, it was maybe zoned for residential in a good area, perhaps one that's still serviced by a lot of different businesses and that kind of thing, walkable. On average, what are those selling for, or what would the cap rate be?
Sure. Cap rates here, I would say, run anywhere from the mid sevens to the high nines in a sense. And so then we're seeing kind of cash on cash returns for people who are buying businesses outright, probably in the 5 or 6% range, or for those that are leveraged with a commercial loan, probably in the 11 to 16% cash on cash return range. And I think we had chatted about this earlier, but our market and our region in the Midwest in particular sees very, very low appreciation. And so we are blessed to have really good cash flow on commercial properties and multifamily investments, but very low appreciation. And so the opportunities for investors is not really to buy and then to sell, but it is to buy and hold and increase income and stabilize cap rates. And we're seeing a lot of competition from out-of-state investors for our multifamily investments right now and for good commercial investments right now. So a shameless promotion, if you are an out-of-state investor interested in cash flowing properties in the Midwest, maybe to balance out your portfolio or expand cash flow, you can go to cashflowillinois.com, which is our website where we feature single-family homes and small multifamily projects. But certainly there are apartment complexes and larger mixed-use facilities that are available for investors looking to invest in this region as well.
Since you do have like a large portfolio of investors, do you also help them manage it, or do you outsource that for your clients?
We outsource that. Yeah, we hook them up with property management companies that are here locally that do that.
And what exactly is drawing like owner occupiers and investors into that city?
I would say we're kind of a hidden gem here in Peoria. You think, oh gosh, it's Illinois. There's winters. There's just cornfields everywhere, which is true. We have that, but we also we're a mid-sized city here, and so we still get all the concerts, and there's activities, and there's farmer markets multiple days a week, and there's a river, and we have lakes, and there's all sorts of activities, all sorts of fun stuff. And there's not really a commute. So if something is 20 minutes away, it's legit 20 minutes away, not stuck in traffic. And so parking is not an issue here, which is just kind of fun because people can get around and do a lot more and make the use of their time. A lot of people move to the area, I would say, kind of to get their time back. I've heard a lot of people say they spend so much time in traffic, they spend so much time just working to pay towards their mortgages, where here it's just very affordable. Time is it really, I mean, when I have clients that say, hey, I really want to buy a house within 30 minutes of my work, I'm like, that's a 5-county radius. Like, we've got lots of options for you here. So it really, it gives a lot of options to people that they probably don't have in other cities and locations. And I think that's what's the draw. And the seasons. We get a lot of people that are like, I just want seasons. I don't want one temperature for the whole year. I really want the change in the seasons.
Our area is about 375,000 people in the metro Peoria area, and it is one of the largest hospital systems per capita. So we service immense amounts of very specialized medical fields for everybody, the millions of people who live between Chicago and St. Louis, and very specialized area with technology and medical engineering, children's hospitals, cancer research hospitals, a large Ronald McDonald House, charities that I'm a part of, just because of the nature of how many people access this area for healthcare opportunities and specializations, and we attract doctors and medical practitioners from all over the world to Peoria for those specialized healthcare operations.
Wow.
And then we are also a national, just, since you asked the question, a national destination for duck hunting and for deer hunting. And so we have a lot of recreational land use where people literally buy land to hunt on, and people who come into our area and come into our region specifically to hunt.
We also have a USDA lab as well. So we're kind of a research and innovation hub in the area too.
I've never heard so much about Peoria, Illinois before. It's good to know. No, it's good to know about the marketplace, right? Especially for investors. Why would they want to invest there? And I guess so the real reason, and aside from all these also multifaceted businesses that you guys are looking after, we wanted to have you on the podcast is to discuss your book, which we're going to get to. But I think Jenny would like to ask you the icebreaker question first.
Oh, yeah. Totally forgot about that. What is one strength or superpower that your partner brings to the table each and every day?
Jessica brings an incredible sense of empathy and patience. Even when it's very clear to me that, and to her, that her clients are ready to buy or sell a house, she does a great job of working through the emotional ups and downs of the process to help reaffirm their decisions when they are the right decisions or guide them different places.
Jessica, I want you to answer for Justin.
So the exact opposite. We don't let him near residential clients because lack of empathy. But where his superpower is, I mean, when it comes to numbers and spreadsheets and just the pure logistics of something, he can see through all of that, where I may be caught up more in the emotional and the empathy of it, and he's just like, it is clear as day from a number standpoint. This is the answer. And so it totally gets me out of that, funk of thinking, oh, but this and that, and I feel so bad about this, or, he's like, nope, you're absolved. Here's the numbers.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's get to your guys' book because it's a super hot topic. Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents, Monetizing Your Business in Retirement. Gosh, so Justin, how did the book come about?
Sure. Well, that's really a good question for Jessica. I'll let her talk about how we started, and then I'll dive into the details.
So I would say probably a year after I got into the business, I kept getting, and I'm sure the listeners out there can probably relate to this, where you get that email and it says, well, so-and-so is retiring. There's going to be cake in the community room. Come say your farewells to them. And by the way, they're going to sell a couple of signs. If you want a signer, a writer, or an open house sign, they're selling them for $20 each. And my thought would be, what happened to their clients? I mean, we all have those clients that are like, hey, now's not a good time, but next spring I'm going to sell. Or, hey, call me in a month. Or, their pipeline. Everyone has a pipeline. So my thought would be, who's got their pipeline? Where is that going? And so it actually prompted me to talk to a few of them and ask, what are your plans? Do you have someone that's helping take over those clients that you have in the pipeline? And I got an array of different answers. And from that, we realized people are doing succession planning and having people take over their business at all different levels, some formally, some informally, some just, hey, if this person calls, I'm just going to have them call you and you just take care of them. Other times it was more formal, where people, paid a large sum of money to get that client base. And other times it was a hybrid. A lot of people had no plan though, and money is being left on the table for everybody when that happens. And so that's when we really sat down and we were trying to figure out, well, I would like to grow my business as a newer agent, and I think that working with a retiring agent to do that, and grab a hold of their sphere and go along with them as they retire is a great way to do it. But we weren't finding the resources out there on how-to guides and what are best practices for what works, what should you not do, what should you look out for. We weren't really finding that, and so we did interviews and took notes, and by the end of it, we realized we have enough for a book, so we should do that, so that other people don't have to go through, the searching and finding and research that we did. And when a succession planning is done, it benefits the agent that is the successor. It benefits the person who's leaving the business, which doesn't always have to be. It could be leaving as a trailing spouse, could be leaving due to illness. I mean, anything. And then it also, the broker owners, to keep that business still in-house. So it is a win-win for everybody, and the clients, because they're getting a continuity of service that is kind of up for grabs, honestly, if an agent just closes their book of business and doesn't have a plan for those clients.
So it really does sound like it's a succession planning for dummies. Like it really spells out strategic and tactical, practical frameworks, really, for us to apply into how to exit into this outside of this business. So what can someone expect when they open the book? What can they expect to read? Are they getting like real examples, contract, like legal terms that they need to include into their contract? So what, what would be like the three main points? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let Justin talk about that. First thing is, first chapter, you're going to get hit with his statistics. But then after that,
I had worked in higher ed and work in higher education, and so if this had been my first shot and first stab at things, it would read like a textbook. But luckily, we had a wonderful editor and publisher who really took this and tried to make it a short book that's a strategy guide. So someone who is thinking about retiring or someone who is thinking about partnering with a retiring agent can pick up this book and in a few hours read through it and literally have a checklist of here are the steps that I need to take to ensure a good succession plan happens. And I think as we started to research it, it was staggering, the numbers. And I don't have the numbers for Canada, I only have them for the United States. But we have over 300,000 real estate agents and realtors in the United States actively selling who are over the age of 60. And just about 65,000 of them in the survey of realtors said they don't plan to be working in the next 24 months. And it was also really shocking how many of the people who were not 60, who were in that maybe 40 to 60 age group and had been selling real estate for 5 to 20 years, said they may not be in the industry, in the business in the next 24 months. And so there is a huge amount of opportunity for agents out there to go through succession planning. And our goal was really to start at the very beginning from chapter 1 and say, how do you find and identify someone who might be a really good retiring agent to be the successor to? Or if you're a retiring agent, what should you look for in a potential successor? And I think to sum that up really quickly, it is your managing broker should know the people who are within your brokerage and be able to recommend and connect people. Or there are probably people that you see around the office who you say, I have a really similar style. They live, eat, and sleep spreadsheets. And that's what their clients expect from them. In Jessica's case, these are agents who love to go and sit around someone's dining room table and have a conversation about their worries and their fears of selling their home and downsizing and working with them through that to identify someone who would be a really good match. And literally chapter by chapter, we go through and talk about how do you create a contractual arrangement for paying out the referral fees on those succession plans. How do you join a agency for hanging your license when you're an inactive agent if you're retiring, so you can still continue to receive commissions? How do we go about rolling over your database? How do we co-market while they're still an agent and co-brand after they're agents? And what are the steps of working through that process? And so we are not lawyers or accountants by trade, certified for those things, but we do example contracts for what does it look like when you want to become a legitimate partner with a retiring agent for a while? What does it look like when someone simply says, I'm closing the door, here's access to my database and my book of business? And what does it look like when someone says, I want to stop selling in the next 2 years? And how do you build a transition and succession plan to really at the core build their clients' trust in you as the successor, so that when they have any real estate needs or referring people, in the case of Jim Barr, who is the first agent that Jessica did a succession plan with, when anybody in Jim's sphere or Jim's family was ready to purchase a home, purchase an investment, or sell a home or real estate, that they would know, hey, Jim has placed his trust in Jessica, and we're going to go straight to her for all of our real estate needs, and we know what to expect in terms of that continuity and service.
Well, first off, both Tony and I are actually broker owners, so this is a fantastic an eye opener of what we should be looking out for, because after all, we are looking after our agents, and so thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Actually, one of my questions is, which you almost already answered, is the 24 months leading up to the retirement. I know that a lot of agents tend to have a hard time letting go. As most of us type A agents, I would say, like to take control, like to take the lead all the time. And so the idea of letting go their business is probably takes a long time. So would you say that it does overall kind of average 24 months is a good time to really start thinking and planning out, like cleaning up your database and co-branding, as you had mentioned? So would you say that that's kind of like a very fair or good time to start thinking about that?
I think when you would say what is the ideal timeline, 2 to 3 years is a really good amount of time to create a great relationship with the retiring agent, to learn their business style that their clients expect, to co-brand so that their clients and their sphere of influence starts to see you as the successor and the retiring agent together as a collaboration, and to build that trust, and then to also allow that retiree time to kind of migrate out of the business at a rate they're comfortable with, and then to actually have a smooth takeover date and time commitment. And I think for a lot of retirees, it's easy to set that date, and it's really hard to keep that date. And so to be able to mutually agree and contractually agree that there's a date in the future, whether it's 18 months or whether it's the full 3 years if you have that opportunity, it's a long runway for people to be prepared in terms of their database and their supplies and to change over signs. And it's a really good runway to be mentally prepared for this date is approaching. I am stopping selling real estate. I'm putting my trust and my clients in the hands of my successor, and to deal with the emotions that are associated with retiring and stopping selling, and then to execute on that actual date.
Can you share the actual percentage or breakdown of how much the retired agent would get for the referral?
Sure.
I would say it depends. And I would say what we have done is we have structured it where I think that it's a little bit different for each agent, but I want to say Jim Barr, for example, he's at 30%. So if he would call me and say, Jessica, I've got a client here, past client, they would like to sell now. And so I told them you would call them this afternoon. And I said, okay, great. So I give them a call. They're already expecting my call. They're teed up to hear from me. And so the nice thing is, for one, we're not going in and competing on listings or, for anything like that, because they literally have just been told this agent's going to call you and list your house by the person that they trust and have trusted for the last, however many years. And so then I go through the process, get the house listed, sold. And then when it comes time to commission, then I keep 70% and he takes 30%. And then obviously whatever splits come out of the agencies and things like that happen. But it's usually, I would say, from what we personally do and then what we have seen with other people doing this as well in our research, anywhere between 25 and 35%. I would say it also kind of depends. I know right now with our commercial properties that we're doing, our commercial agent that we're doing a succession plan with is still very, very much involved in a lot of the transactions. So some of those we're doing, 50-50, and it just kind of depends. And there's a lot of upfront signage cost with commercial also. So it's kind of whoever's going to take that cost may, get more at the end of it. And so it's definitely something to work out in those details with the contract, and then not be afraid to re-sit down and go over the contract from time to time and see if it needs to be adjusted based on some of those expenses.
Jenny, I think, if I had to say here's a generic framework, we would recommend, or we advise, as you look at the contract examples in the book, that a succession plan should generally be paid out for 3 years. And the first year, roughly that 30% kind of area, and then a decreasing amount year over year. And so whether that's, 30, 25, 20, or whether it's 25, 20, 15, what we really see is that the ability and the kind of return on investment for that successor is the highest in the first year when you've put a lot of time and energy into it. The retiree is still well known in the community. You still have literally their clients who you have just rolled over to you, and you still have the searches that are running in the background to service them. They're engaged in your newsletters. And just through kind of the process of attrition, you see that sphere of influence grow smaller over the course of year 2 and year 3. And so, certainly you want to reward and make it profitable for the retiring agent if they've done the due diligence and they're an active partner for 3 years worth of referrals. If it's literally just kind of dropping the book of business in your lap in a sense as they exit, maybe you have a plan that's only 1 or 2 years. But the best case scenario, as we've talked to agents and successors and retirees, is that you have a really good, strong relationship, because they will still continue to get Facebook messages and go to family reunions and generate referrals. And we want them as engaged as possible for as long as possible until they really say, hey, we're moving to Florida or Texas and we're cutting the cord. And I'm literally just going to text you voicemails of people that leave them for me about buying and selling houses. But again, at 70-30 is a really good split point, and you see some natural attrition. One of the things we write about in the book is to say you can usually expect a retiree's book of business to do about 1/3 of the volume it's historically done in the first year, and then it decreases a little bit after that. So if an agent's doing $10 million a year on average, and they retire and move into the succession plan, you can probably expect $3.25 million of closed business in the first year that you'd be paying referrals on, and then you see slight decline year over year in that. But that really depends on the strength of their database and the strength of their relationship. Everybody has their A-list clients and their B-list clients, and then just the names that are in a database that maybe they haven't met, or maybe were from an open house or something out there. And those carry a lot less value than, my clients who are investors who buy their rental properties through me regularly as they expand their investment portfolio.
Is there a common way to deal with, like in the case of Jim Barr, for example, because he was one of the first people you took over from, if you had dealt with one of his clients directly and you had the 70-30 split, let's just say, and that client who you ended up helping referred you additional business, is there a common way to deal with referrals from the previous client book?
That's something that you write into. Yeah, absolutely, Tony. So that's something we write into the contracts, just like a team leader. You all already have the experience of this, of saying, these are the team leaders' clients and these are the team members' clients, and how do you deal with referrals from past clients there, or family members, or them buying their own properties. We spell those out in the contract of whether it's just the people you refer directly, whether we pay a commission on anyone in your database, or whether we pay a commission on referrals from people in your database that's in there. And it's important to be fair and to set good expectations to keep a really good relationship going. And so some people have wanted to delve into that level. Some people who are more hands-off don't want to delve into there, and it's just the top 500 people that they give you from their database that they're active with. And we've even had people that we delve deeper into to say, hey, when you go to sell your investment portfolio that you're leaving behind, we will negotiate this prepaid commission rate on helping you to sell those or to buy those investments from you at a negotiated rate.
Well, you can see how important it would be to be very clear in the contract with the expectations and transparent on both sides, right? Just so all of the relationships remain positive and intact. So that's great. I can't wait to read the book, guys.
Good. I hope it's really tactical and good for you. And I think that even broker owners have a great opportunity, as there are other broker owners who are retiring, and even your own agents who are retiring that you want to set up a succession plan for internal to your teams, because you want to keep their book of business and their business within your team.
Yeah, and to play off of Tony's question as well, but the referral, as helping and closing that the first deal with with a lead from that book that's been passed over, if it comes into like a second or third deal, fourth deal, obviously again case by case, and whatever you've negotiated with the retired agent and the successor as well. So I guess it's again what works for everybody, right?
If I can add
you've done
that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why it's important to keep the contract links not for too many years, because after a while, if you're doing a good job of nurturing this database, it becomes kind of convoluted whose client is whose. And I would say, particularly in a smaller market like we are, a lot of times it's people you already know, and you're going to come across them and some overlap in the spheres to begin with. And so I do think that keeping the contracts on a shorter year basis, a couple of years at most, is important, because it does get to a point where it's like, well, I see that person weekly. They're kind of in my sphere, yet they're on this person's list. So that's why the transparency and the honesty and everything is so important on that. And then also maybe it's better off to do a shorter, but maybe 1 year, but a higher degree of split if someone's going to be particularly concerned about that. Maybe it just needs to be 1 year, but a higher split for that year. Or, there's ways to, depending on personalities, make it so everyone feels comfortable and like they're getting the fair shake of it.
So it also sounds like, just because it is getting a little bit convoluted, right? We're talking about what would happen if it was referral from X, Y, and Z, and now they're part of your sphere. It sounds like another important success mechanism for succession planning and these contracts is also perhaps having a really good CRM to track, I would imagine, right, to track where the referral or the client has come from and what year you actually did business with them.
I think this is one of the most important things, Tony, and you really found it. While you are essentially investing in a succession plan, you are buying a book of business, and not so many words at the same time. And so the ideal situation is that someone has a CRM where you can export all of their leads that have responded or been nurtured or opened emails or had phone calls or closed business in the past 5 years, load them into the successor's CRM and tag them as Jim Barr's clients for our purposes. The worst case scenario is someone has a file cabinet full of 20 years of transactions, and we have to rebuild it from brokerage records or their Rolodex or
There is, and one of the part of our contract with Jim was we shared an admin, and she did about 10 to 15 hours a week just with his database, getting it into a format that we could then import, that he could export, we could import. And so we shared the cost of an admin to do that. And so that's where you got to get, creative also, and just, all right, what we both want to make this happen. How can we make this happen? And I think as agents, that's why we're agents, because we have creative solutions for getting deals together. And so you got to use those skills in getting these contracts and these essentially deals together as well.
I think it's funny, some of the data from the National Association of Realtors is that for those agents who have 16 or more years of experience, more than 70% of their closed business is from referral. And if you read into that more deeply, 70% comes directly to their cell phone. And it may not be nurtured leads. It may not be, people who are even in their database because they're homes that were sold 10 years ago. And they've continued to be good about sending them calendars or inviting them to client events and things. And so working on having a sufficient enough database to give to the successor to be able to continue the business is really foundational, because again, otherwise you're just working from referrals from the retiring agent as opposed to taking on their sphere of influence, which is always the highest goal in the succession plan.
And so how about your own business? What percentage of your business is coming from referrals and your sphere of influence versus the leads that have come from the succession plans you've taken over? I heard from another podcast that you've taken over 3 so far. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, we're on our 3rd succession. I would say in the first one and the 3rd one have been the most successful so far. And I will say why the second one. The second one was an agent who basically was just shutting the door, had no plan, and was leaving the state. And so I literally was like, can I have 3 hours? And we just at least go through your cell phone and go through any current searches you may have set up in our local MLS and at least grab those clients. So interestingly, because, and I think this goes to show, at least have some sort of plan. I mean, that was 3 hours. We had 3 hours. And so I am nurturing, I would say probably a dozen of those clients. And I've gone and done showings. I've gone and done some pre-listing work. None of them have bought or sold yet, but we're nurturing them. And so eventually that will happen. But I mean, I'd say we've been nurturing for 2 years, those clients, but they've been absorbed into my sphere now, because they had the stamp of approval from that, agent, because in that 3 hours, I made her make some phone calls with me, and kind of do an official handoff. With Jim Barr, I would say, I'd have to look at the numbers. We've had an incredible summer. But I would say maybe 25% the first year was Jim's clients. And then I would say in general, we are heavy on the referrals. We don't do a lot of just lead gen to begin with. Our sphere, and then the sphere of our succession planning is really what we work off of. I would say we're probably 80-20 when it comes to referrals in general, whether that's from our succession, whether that's from our own spheres, because we're out in the community a lot and do a lot of different things. We're definitely heavy on the referral side.
And on the commercial side, about 75% of our transactions are referrals in our partnership, because again, we're working on a succession plan with someone who was #1 in our RE/MAX region and has a huge portfolio of community contacts as being the top commercial realtor of choice for a lot of different types of our, commercial real estate in the region. And so while I brought some of my multifamily investors to my portfolio, a vast majority of it is comprised of the succession plan referrals, the existing listings that were out there and being added as co-listing and other listing agents on them, and then the leads that are coming in directly to the retiring agent that are then passed on to me.
And last year, well, I was just going to say for reference, last year, which was, if you look at just the residential side, it was myself and one other agent, Amanda, and we did 117 transactions
Wow.
total.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Congratulations. And so you guys know that age-old saying, quality versus quantity? I'm curious, if you were an agent who was going to be looking at taking over a legacy agent's book, is there a certain number of COI or sphere that would need to be in that book that you would look for in order to consider it profitable? Or is it just about the quality? Because you could have maybe a book of 50 and they're all repeat clients, right? There's really good quality there. But what about the quantity?
You know,
Quality.
yeah, I would say quality definitely. I would go to it, if I were really investigating it and doing a deep dive to say, is this a worthwhile activity? It would be to find out what percentage of that retiring agent's business is generated from referrals. A book of 15,000 is not viable. They're not having cultivated relationships with that. 500 would probably be plenty, I would think, but there may be agents or teams out there who can serve and service 1,000 people in their database very, very well. But certainly it would need to be more than 250, but 500 is probably a pretty comfortable place for people they're working with. In the case of Jim Barr, we hosted social events for probably the top 50 people in his sphere. And we literally had a happy hour, took them to lunch, and they knew Justin and Jessica were exactly how and what was going on, and our faces, and had our business cards that were co-branded with Jim in that sense. So it was a real easy handoff, but there are other people who don't know what to expect when we're still taking those referral clients and may not have met us, but see us on the postcards or had seen us in the emails. A number of different ways that are out there. But, if somebody said, oh, I've been an agent for 40 years and I'm going to give you my book of business and it's 20,000 people, probably it needs some paring down to say, who are the people who you are really, truly working with? Because what you want, again, is to transfer the trust from the retiring agent to the successor agent. So they have to have a relationship and trust that retiring agent if it's going to be a profitable, beneficial transaction in there.
For sure. Thank you for answering that. That makes total sense. I guess because like in your guys' book, if you were to just pick 3 key takeaways from the book, would you be able to summarize your 3 takeaways?
I think I could. Maybe they're the same as yours, maybe they're not.
Agent.
The first one would be talk to your managing broker if you're thinking about retiring or would be interested in being the successor to a business. Because a lot of times people aren't walking around saying, pick me, I would be a great person to work your business in your sphere of influence in retirement. Or people are feeling out whether it's a time to retire, and a managing broker probably has those relationships to be able to facilitate a connection. The second would be to have a really well-written, thoughtful contract to meet people's expectations, to not disappoint anybody, and to not ever sever the relationship that you have in those few years. And the third would be realize as a retiring agent or as a successor, you need a structured database for the sphere of influence that you're taking on. It may be a spreadsheet, it may be reconstructed, but it is the responsibility of both parties to have something tangible or data-wise to make that transfer, because it is the core of the succession plan.
If someone wanted to actually just sell the book and not get a referral over a course of a year, how do you put a number to that? How do you put an evaluation? I'm going to ask Justin because you're the numbers
You
guy.
bet. I really think you could look at their past 3 years of sales business, which a lot of times you can find in your MLS. You could times it by 0.33 to get a third of what that business is, and then figure out what the commission would be on that 1/3 of their business, and put a number to it. But the challenge anytime you're just buying that flat book of business for cash is you don't know, those people may not trust you, and they may not be the fit that's out there. And so we would try and avoid that flat lump sum payment. I know historically that's been the way some business and succession planning was done. It's a little different with a brokerage when you can actually calculate some annual income and put an EBITDA multiplier on it and say, hey, this is the value of the business for someone to purchase. But in an individual agent, you're essentially not buying their book, you're buying their business and their trust in their clients. If you want that formula, we have consulting services, so I'm happy to dig into the numbers with someone and help them put a value on it. But in the case that an agent wants something in their retirement immediately, like some kind of lump sum payment, I think we've seen things work out really well where they're given some amount of lump sum payment and then a referral or an incentive in year number 2 if their book of businesses produce a certain amount of closed business. Because the trick here is people are still going to call that retiree, they're still going to email that retiree, they're still going to drop their business card around at different places that are still in circulation, and their engagement in it is a heavy predictor of success for the plan.
We built incentives into we built incentives into the contract with Jim, and it worked out great. I mean, I was never so happy to write that incentive check for him because it meant that we had gone past the amount that we had planned on, and it was, hey, if we close this many million, then we're just working off the referral amount. But if we go over this amount, we're going to give you a lump sum. And he worked hard. I mean, he was working his sphere to get us to that number because he had a vested interest in, on that, which was, again, I've never been so happy to write a bonus. One thing I wanted to add when you talked about takeaways, because this was a huge fear that I had as an agent, an individual agent, and then growing my own little team. My thought was I don't want to lose my identity as I am co-marketing, co-branding with another agent. I know that's always a fear when people talk about teams and things like that. And so there's definitely different ways to go about this. An example with Jim was for the year prior to him retiring, every postcard he sent out, every letter he sent out, it also had it had my picture, and it just said, hey, here's my partner, Jessica Ball. Here's a picture of us. Here's her contact information. I wasn't even touching those clients yet. This was just for a year, getting them to see my face, my name, and that kind of stuff. His sphere assumed I was part of his team. We did not have any formal team. I mean, I was still an individual agent. My clients were not getting that, that letter or that marketing to them. It was just his clients. Any correspondence with his clients they were seeing my name and face. And so it was like this subtle, this is my partner, and so for a year they were essentially getting that. And so then when we did start doing more stuff together, his sphere was already used to me and seeing me, at least, my name and my face. And so it was an easy way for me to be able to still run my business, retain my identity, but then also be introduced as someone that will be working with him.
It's absolutely like an infusion or a soft sell in a way without really putting it in your face. Yeah. One of the things you mentioned about writing this person a check, and when we're licensed, the brokerages will only pay out to licensed agents. So I'm not sure how it works in the States or if every state is different, but are you getting RE/MAX to write the check to the retired agent, or are you doing it from your own books and then having to calculate it with your accountant at the end of the year?
So Yeah, you can talk about the referral network.
Yeah. So when in Illinois and in the United States, to the best of my knowledge, and everybody should check with their region and license law in their state, but you can only receive commissions as a licensed agent unless you are in a referral or retirement network. And so here in our region, we have a dozen different referral retirement networks. And so when we would split a commission, let's say it's $1,000, and we're getting 700 of that, and 300 of it is going to Jim. Our 700 comes through Remax Traders Unlimited, our brokerage, and we have splits and commissions and annual fees and items. And then Jim's 30% goes to the Peoria Area Referral Network, that is a brokerage holding company. And so he keeps his active license, but is in that referral network, not actively selling, and there's reduced fees and then reduced abilities. Basically, he cannot sell real estate. He may only receive commission referrals in that referral or retirement network.
So to answer your question, it's going to the brokerage essentially that he's hanging his license at, which happens to be a referral brokerage locally here.
And the brokerage is managed by the real estate association,
Yeah, there's a broker.
or are they not related to a real estate association at all?
It depends. So in Chicago, there is actually a referral network that is managed by the Association of Realtors, but there are also privately held referral networks, and so ours is a privately held referral network here, or private brokerage, not a brokerage owned and operated by the Association of Realtors.
Awesome. I don't think we have that, Tony, or I haven't looked into it. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you and I. Justin, you do some, or both you guys do consultation, and you offer consultation packages. Tell us a little bit about that on the side as well.
So if there are people out there or agents out there who are thinking about retiring and want help in formulating a contract or negotiating that contract with their successor, or vice versa, or are looking for support in how to market and brand their collaboration and their succession plan, we are happy to work with them. We're really excited to be presenting at the California Association of Realtors annual conference and speaking to agents there, as well as REMAX St. Louis and several groups across the United States. But whether it is an association who would like us to speak or an individual who wants help in how do we really manage our communications for the year that we're going to be collaborating before the retiring agent actually retires, we are happy to help individuals all the way up through large groups to better understand succession planning for real estate agents. We don't. We just do this by the hour, and so you can go to resuccession.com and you can see information about our consulting, speaking. You can see podcast appearances we've been on, and you can buy the book in print, ebook version, or audiobook version through Amazon.com.
Awesome. I actually downloaded one this morning.
Oh, great.
Can't wait to read it. Was that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we actually always round to the top with 5 rapid fire questions. Ooh. And so quick answers here. Who is the more organized one between you?
Justin.
What are you focusing on as we enter the final quarter of this year?
Ooh, well, I would say right now it's very much systems and processes. I just re-listened to your number 93 podcast, which was with the Organization Ninja. Our transaction coordinator of 4+ years actually moved out of state, so we've just hired a new one, and so it's really forced me to take a look at our systems. Can we redo any systems? And so that is our focus right now, is just systems and processes, I would say, so that way we could ramp up again in quarter one. Even though it's already it's a great year. It's going to finish out strong, but we're always looking for the next quarter as well.
Yeah. May I ask? Yeah, yeah, that's a good episode. What CRM do you guys actually use?
Right now, we switched over in February to Brivity. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Ah, okay. I used to be with them. Oh no, actually, we are still with them. We're using Brivity at the moment. Yeah. What is one piece of advice you would share with someone who's new in the business?
You were a business owner, not a real estate agent, and so you have to think about lead generation, accounting, debits and credits, taxes, mileage, and all of the things that our business owners think about. Because what makes a real estate agent successful or a team leader successful is realizing they run a business.
Mm-hmm. And
Good one.
I guess for both of you, if you guys were not in real estate now, what would you be doing?
Oh,
I would probably be a professor.
Ooh, interesting. In what?
Business, marketing, real estate.
that's such a hard one because I made a big career change from law enforcement, which is what I went to school for, and then into real estate, and I love it. And it's opened up the doors a lot for us for other businesses. We're also part owners in a coffee shop. And so, yeah, I mean, if the door shut on real estate tomorrow, I would go sell coffee.
Is there something that you guys don't do?
We don't manage our properties anymore.
Don't manage
We
properties.
outsource that. We were doing it, and then Jessica Ball, the property manager, is no more. I was happily able to pass that on and outsource that.
Awesome. And final question, where and how can our listeners find you guys? I know that you mentioned the website. Do you guys have an Instagram handle?
Yeah, so for the team, the Jessica Ball team, which houses a lot of our stuff, it is our Instagram and our Facebook handle is the same. It's Jessica Ball Homes. And we have links there to, investors. We have links to our book, everything like that. If you're strictly looking for the book information and succession planning, that's resuccession.com. Also at Facebook, it's resuccession.
And if you want to find out about more on commercial real estate in the greater Peoria area, you can go to commercialpeoria.com. And you can also... gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on what I was going to say. Oh, check out illinois.com.
The cash flow. Yeah. Well, I wish you guys all the lots of fun and success with your speaking engagements that you've already booked in advance here. And to the listeners, again, author of Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents, Monetizing Your Business in Retirement. This is Justin and Jessica Ball. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've learned a lot. I'm sure, Tony, you have a lot of things kind of going on in your mind here in terms of planning for the future. But we really appreciate you guys taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you. It was our pleasure.